This is Michael Spedden, and welcome to Foul Players Radio, your one-stop shop for all of your pop culture needs. We feature interviews from musicians, actors, comics, dancers, authors, and much, much more, up-and-coming artists and beloved favorites. We've got it all, people on stage, backstage, out front, and behind the scenes. Sit back and relax. Let's have some fun.
Hi, this is Randy Jackson from Zebra, and you're listening to Foul Players Radio.
Hi, this is Kathy Ladman, and you're listening to Foul Players Radio, the place where you get all of your good news information. Not really, but it's just a great show.
Hey folks, Michael Spedden here, and we've reached the end of another season of Foul Players Radio. Season 12 has come to an end, but it's not over yet because we have a great interview tonight, one right here for you, with Lori Lewman. Lori Lewman is a drummer in a band called the Babysitters. I believe they're based in the Columbia area. And her father was Pete the Pirate on WBAL TV back in the 1960s, back in the early days of television. He was one of the early kids shows back in those days, and she had some really great stories to tell us about him and the things that he was up to in those days. So I really think you'll enjoy this. So again, remember foulplayersradio.com, youtube.com/@foulplayersradio. Hit that like and subscribe button and pass our episodes around. Remember, get out and support our local artists. Remember that, I've had a lot of folks on that are, playing music, writing books, all that stuff, that have shows coming up. Get out and buy tickets to these shows. The holidays are coming. Shop small. Support our local artists. Buy their books, buy their merchandise, buy their t-shirts, buy their CDs. Get tickets to their shows. Not only do these make great gifts, they make great experiences and great memories. So get out there and support our local artists. Shop small this holiday season, folks. All right, we'll be back right after these words with Lori Lewman.
Hey, Mary Jo Peel here, and you are listening to Foul Players Radio.
Hi, I'm Emmy Jo.
And I'm Doug, and we're from the New Zoo Review, and you're watching Foul Players Radio.
And welcome back to our final edition of the season, our final episode of the season of Foul Players Radio, season 12. Where did the time go? Time flies when you're having fun, but we're not done having fun yet. We have Lori Lewman with us tonight. Lori Lewman, a member of one of Baltimore's showbiz families, we could say. Lori is a musician, a drummer in a band called the Babysitters. Her brother Lance has done a lot of things, voiceover work, TV work, a lot of things there. And her father is, or was, Pete the Pirate, WBAL, right?
Yes.
Back in the 1960s, from 60 until 65. One of those, and I absolutely love old TV, the iconic old kids hosts. I just absolutely love that stuff. And it's a real shame that that's kind of been a lost art.
Yeah.
Years, So I guess if you want, we can, if you want to start off with Pete the Pirate, tell us about that, what it was like having your dad being Pete the Pirate and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was born in 63, so I am mostly just remembering stories that I heard about it.
Sure.
And then it was very fun to have people who were just a little bit older than I was be blown away that my father was Pete the Pirate. And I heard stories from my mom saying they lived in Baltimore at the time, and the neighborhood kids would come over and knock on the door and say, "Hey, can Pete the Pirate come out and play?"
Yep.
So they figured he was just the funnest guy ever, and he pretty much was. So I know he wrote it all. He did everything from soup to nuts. And I've seen little clips of it and stuff like that. And my mom was on there. She played a female pirate, and she was dominating him, and it was great.
That's awesome. And, and just a couple of things I'd like to say about what you just told me here. First of all, kids could come knock on your door.
Yeah.
That rings true with, the stories I've heard about the old Colts, the old Orioles, very approachable. They were very much of the people back in those days. They weren't living off in some gated community somewhere where you have to buzz your way in or get past a guard. They were in your neighborhood. They were your neighbors. Their kids were going to school with everybody else's kids. And back in those days too, the athletes, weren't not making these millions of dollars every year. They were working at Bethlehem Steel or at Johnny Unitas's restaurant or Brooks Robinson's sporting goods store during the off season.
Right.
But you could, a lot of people, I know some folks that grew up in Perry Hall, and they could go to Earl Weaver's house, knock on the door, and ask for a baseball to be signed at any time.
Wow. Yeah, isn't that something?
I guess life was a lot different before people got weird.
Yeah, exactly.
All of a sudden people get weird and all that goes out the window, stalking and hiding.
You were all down to earth and,
Yeah.
Like just of the people, like you said. I love that.
But that's really, and that had to be just a really cool thing. Another thing too that kind of comes to mind is, you said your father wrote the whole thing. And I'm sure he probably got a format down because he had, I guess, a certain amount of time to do the show in, and he kind of had a feel for how long things would take. I'm sure a lot of his improv skills came into play too, huh?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. He was such a good actor. And so he would just figure out the plot of the show. And also, it's funny, as I grow older, I was watching South Pacific with my mom, and there was a scene of a ship in the distance, and mom said, "Oh, that's what we used for Pete the Pirate." And I was like, "Really? Oh my God!" Because he really made it pretty realistic with his ship, and then you could see the ship in the distance.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just kind of learning how he did that, and he was a farm boy from Indiana, so for him to come to kind of the big city, what was considered the big city, from his parents, who both mom and dad's parents both thought they were crazy for coming here to try to do a TV show. Like, what are you doing?
Right.
My dad's family, they were farmers. So he really, he was brave. He broke out and came here, pretty much on his own with not a whole lot of backup back home,
Wow. I mean, yeah, and it just kind of goes to show you how TV was back then, skeleton crews.
Right.
And kind of comparing, having interviewed, Tracy Lewis, George Lewis, Captain Chesapeake's daughter.
Oh, okay.
And some other folks like Dwight Weems. He sings in a band called Gaz that everybody really knows around Baltimore. They do a lot of weddings and big events. But he was also on the staff at WBFF, a skeleton crew of people. They did all the commercials themselves. They handled all the programming themselves. Not a lot of, a lot of the shows were second run or syndicated shows. They weren't getting the current run ones, but looking at what you're telling me about your father and what I heard about BFF back in those days, if I could travel back in time and be anybody, I'd be one of those guys.
Right. Yeah.
It's such, basically that was his baby.
Yeah.
And, I guess, as you had mentioned, the show came to an end in 1965. What was the reason why, that you told me? Tell me what you told me.
Yeah, basically what happened was cartoons came out.
Right.
And the cartoons kind of, he said, very quickly folded the shows, the morning shows, because the kids with the cartoons, they just love that. So he said, that's pretty much what happened. Yeah, I didn't know for years. And one day I was like, hey, what happened to Pete the Pirate? Because as I grew up, and like I said, I worked at the Downtown Athletic Club in Baltimore. which is not that anymore. Now it's the Merritt Athletic Club, but there were a lot of people there just a little bit older than me that beat the pirate, and it was like, that is really something, you know. And so I got more curious and asked him what happened, and that was it. The cartoons took over.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was the case with a lot of them too. You know, not only the cartoons taking over. Now, your father's show was on BAL, right?
Right, WBAL. Yep.
So they were like a national. They were affiliate of a major network. I guess they change from time to time. You know, they all kind of rotate. I guess was it NBC back then?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I know they've gone from NBC to CBS to ABC. They all kind of.
Oh, have they really? I didn't know that.
They've made their rounds. Yeah. There's times, I guess, when contracts expire and everything. But I mean, a lot of the death of a lot of the kids shows and even like the Bozo the Clown stuff and everything really kind of faded out when you had BFF, Fox bought it. 54, yeah. I guess that was either the CW or the WB bought that one. So then they kind of brought in their own programming, but they weren't really looking for local people to do these shows anymore. But I'd take those shows any day.
Yeah, right. I know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So do you have a lot of footage of your father's show? Or was it saved, or are you just or is it kind of limited as to what's out there to see?
Well, it's a little bit limited. If you Google Pete the Pirate, there are a couple shows that come up and you can watch them. Definitely gives you the feel for it. I was recently going through my storage area, and the one thing I found was he did a show called Surrender at Appomattox, and he's got the original tapes. There's boxes and boxes of them, and I don't know how to play them, but there they are. But I don't have any Pete the Pirate. Now it might be somewhere up at my parents' house. I live on the same property.
Oh, sure.
So it might be up there somewhere, but yeah, if you Google it, I was surprised somebody has posted it, and there it is. It didn't used to be, but now it is. So yeah.
Right. One thing that's a shame, and I'm sure that you probably are aware of this. I think it's a crime, but back at the time that it happened, who knew? I had read an article because I love reading about, and I love old TV.
Yeah.
And I happen to know, we have a mutual, your brother and I have a mutual friend. One of my actors is Robert Lovett, who had worked with your brother quite a bit.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that.
Yep. And one thing that was said, in an article that I had read about Stu Kerr, Professor Cool and Bozo.
Oh, yeah.
That all the Professor Cool tapes, as soon as the show stopped running, just went straight in the dumpster.
Yeah, that's a shame.
I mean, who knew that 30 years later, this nostalgic, people would want to see these again.
Right. Wow. Yeah.
And the same thing kind of happened with Johnny Carson when Carson went from New York to LA. They saved a lot of the tapes, but the stuff prior to 1970, it's very rare that there's any footage of the Johnny Carson show, because what they did back in those days is they would record a show, it would air, then they would tape over the tape. So it was just gone.
Oh my God. They would just use the same tape.
Yeah. I mean,
wow. Unbelievable.
I mean, just imagine, what's gone forever now.
Yeah. Well, that kind of explains too, like why this one movie, I've literally got, I would say, 20 boxes full of these tapes, and and it says master on every one of them. So I was like, all right, I'm not throwing this out. I'm going to keep it. So yeah.
You may be able to, convert that or something too.
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't even know how to play it. I have a Jay Paul in my band. He's really good with sound. He said he could figure it out for me, but yeah, it's not a VHS, and it's not, I don't even recognize what it is, but it's next to it.
So many formats of media.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. Everything from what is it? We had VHS, and then we had Beta,
Right.
Yeah, and apparently Beta was a lot better, but VHS is the one that took off,
Yeah, yeah. I remember that when it was like neck and neck, and then
Mhm.
VHS took over.
Yep. Yeah, I know it was just something that kind of happened, and I guess people just decided they wanted VHS instead of the Beta, which, who knows? Who knows? And so very, very interesting, very, very interesting. So, after Pete the Pirate was finished, what did your father do after that?
Yeah, when that I guess it was canceled, and then but they said, we're not going to do this show, but we want to do Jack Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
And that sort of picked up. Ironically, it was still him being kind of a pirate type. But that didn't go over very well. So that kind of tanked pretty quickly. And then I remember him doing Consumer Survival Kit. And that was his on camera. I think that was his last on camera TV show, because he realized doing voiceover was a lot easier, and it was also more lucrative because you could do, he started doing political spots for a lot of candidates. And I remember he had a big map of the United States on his office wall, and he had pins to keep it straight, which candidates he was representing all across the United States. Which was
Sure.
really cool. Yeah.
So he was doing like radio, like voice ads for like election years.
There were a lot of the hate ads, and this person's doing that, and then they were the other side, and he had to make sure he wasn't, on both sides, but always Democrat. And then it just got so busy, he was just literally like working so hard. I remember him just up all night, and was called the political season. You don't talk to dad during the political season.
Oh yeah. I'm sure he's really busy. I mean, that's when the ads really start.
Oh man, yeah, they start flying. Yes.
And and then the one comes out, and then the candidate, then the other candidate hears it, then they have to respond it through an ad.
Right. You get another one, and then you get this side, and you get that side. Yeah.
It's just like a whole back and forth via ads. And meanwhile, the radio stations and the TV stations that run these are like, cha-ching, here we go.
Yes.
Not a bad place to be, really. I mean, one thing that you have to kind of watch nowadays is, and really in recent years, since the country's become so polarized,
right?
Really, going publicly as a performer and making any kind of statement or stance on anything is going to cost you your audience. And I tell you, if you pull a hair out of the wrong person's rear end, it doesn't end easily. I mean,
you're right. Yeah, that's so true.
Which is good that his voice was there.
Yes.
And, they don't see him on camera or anything saying those things, because Lord knows, and especially in this day and age, with the way people are doxing each other and showing up at your house and everything. Again, it's
oh yeah,
back before the weird, right?
Right. Oh man, yeah, it was definitely a lot more wholesome back then.
Right. Right. So that's great. I mean, a lot of voiceover. What are some other stories or memories you have of your dad's career? I mean, I'm sure you got to meet a lot of people too.
Oh yeah, I can remember 911, 9/11, when everything was going horribly wrong. I was working in a sales job, and I was in Arlington, Virginia, and they thought the USA Today building had been hit, and that's where I was, because I was selling them things. And anyway, I remember calling my dad, and where I am now, this is my office. This was my dad's studio.
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
So, yeah, it's a soundproof room, and my band is actually playing out there now, because I said, don't worry, I'll just go in the soundproof room. But yeah, he had a big console here, and all his equipment surrounded him, and I designed it for my job. But anyway, I remember calling him and saying, Dad, my God, it's the end of the world. What's happening? You got to help me. And he was like, I'm doing a spot.
Jeez.
He had no idea that everything was going down with their ambulances going, and it was just like very scary time. And he was just so in the zone, like, I can't talk to you right now. And that was not like him at all, because he was always, he was the person that you could call and say, hey, I've got a flat tire. Where are you? Not like, what did you do to cause that? It's like, I'm there. I'll get you,
Mhm.
But when he was doing his spot, boy, you had to get out of the way because he was in the zone and he was so good.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, the thing is, I mean, to be able to make a living at doing that,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you got to be on point. And the thing is, if you get a lot of work, I mean, you got to turn it around pretty quickly, and you can't, keep stopping and starting over. And
Yeah,
everything.
exactly. I remember he hired a friend of his to drive an old limousine that he bought between Baltimore and Washington because he had so many back and forths. And then as he got better, he honed it and he said, no, I work in Baltimore Tuesday and Thursday, and I work in Washington Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Right.
And to work around his schedule.
Hmm.
And then pretty much as he was doing really well, he decided to take a 6-month sabbatical.
Oh wow, huh?
Who does that? I think, wow, that is confidence right there.
Mhm. Yeah.
I remember even as a young kid going, really? What if the people aren't there when you come back?
Hmm.
And he said, no, they will be. And they
Wow.
were.
Yeah. So did you get a chance to meet or, interact with any of the local TV or, media personalities when you were a kid, or even in,
Let's see. Yeah, I got to meet I think Stu Kerr. There were a lot of voiceover people, and I knew all of them. Bill
Mhm.
O'Connor, but you probably don't know them. But they were the big voiceover names around here. In fact, my dad got a lot of careers started for people. He would recognize they had a good voice. One guy in particular. But yeah, we definitely were going. I mean, they love to take Lance and I out to dinner. In fact, one time my mom said, well, we were kind of lonely because we were from Indiana. And so when we moved here, we just said, well, let's have a couple. We'll just have 2 kids and they can go out to dinner with us and we'll take them everywhere, And so they did. We were
Right.
all there. I can remember they were doing plays at Bolton Hill Dinner Theater and Limestone Valley Dinner Theater. And
Hmm.
we were right there. I mean, as little kids, like hanging out and waiting for them to get done and coming home late
Hmm.
at night. But yeah, always living the life. And Lance was in one of the plays when he was really young. They just wrote him in. So he was the one that really followed in their footsteps.
Right.
So yeah, I went a completely different way. I went into sales, and I played sports. I played basketball for the University of Miami.
Oh.
And, so yeah, I was an athlete, and he went to the North Carolina School of the Arts. So,
Okay. Mhm.
so yeah.
Was that University of Miami, the
In Florida.
Hurricanes?
The
Okay.
Hurricanes, yes.
Oh, okay. There you go. There you go. I was curious because there's like a Miami of Ohio too. I was just wondering.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Everybody says that. Which one?
Right. Well, Ohio has no business having a Miami.
I know, right?
I mean, why would they? Why would there be a Miami there?
I know. Why got to do that?
Yeah. That's just ridiculous. Ohio. Yeah, come on. Get somebody's hopes up.
Right.
Wow. I mean, because there is really such a rich history around here with, the arts and the personalities that were on our television shows. I mean, it really molded us around here. And, so many people just have so many memories of the way things were back in those days,
Yeah.
I mean, just such iconic people. And I really am honored, that people like you, I've had, again, Tracy Lewis willing to come on and tell stories about her father. I had Doug Dizelle, who was Captain 20, or Dave Dizelle, Captain 20, from WDCA in DC. Come on and really tell a lot of his story too. I've had Frank Luber, who was on WJZ for many years.
Oh wow.
And it's a shame that and I love getting I love hearing these stories.
Yeah.
It's just and being in news and things like that. I mean, you're looking for things to happen, and boy, do they happen sometimes.
Right. Yeah. I'm so glad that we met. That's great.
Right. Well, thank you, thank you. But just getting to witness history and things like that too.
Yeah.
I had Alan Walden on the show, and I'll tell you, he told me, he was doing the news one day back in November 1963. He was on the air, and all of a sudden, the I guess what was it, a ticker tape machine or whatever that the dot thing was that would send news stories over.
Yeah.
He happens to look over, and it just says President Kennedy has just been shot.
Mm.
Now he had to break that story on WNBC in New York City. I mean, could you imagine just
Oh my
what that
God.
was like?
Wow.
And people like your father, being, the entertainment. I mean, television was relatively new at that time.
Yeah.
Being the entertainment, and all those kids watching him. Was it on like? Do you remember if it was on like before or after school or something, or Saturdays or?
I think it was Saturdays.
Okay.
Yeah, like mid-morning Saturdays.
Oh, sure. Okay. But again, another, icon
Yeah.
from this area here. So tell me about, I want to hear about the Babysitters.
Oh, the Babysitters. Well, the whole band got started when I decided to play drums.
Mhm.
And my drum teacher said, Lori, you should really start your own band. And I was like, really? And he goes, yeah, the drummer is the one that has the consistent mindset. They're steady Eddies, or steady Janes. And, you just find some people to play with you and have a band of your own. And I was like, it sounds good. And so I joined the School of Rock, which is mostly kids playing rock and roll, but they have an adult band. So a friend of mine, Julie, she told me, who's now in my band, my lead singer, she said, you got to join this band. You got to go. You got to do it. Because they play in bars all over Baltimore, and it's really cool. It's so fun. So I did, and I did that for years, and pretty quickly I realized, yeah, I could definitely do this. I want to do this because I think I could do it better and have more fun, because there was a lot of, the people that were running it did a good job, but they were kids and they were a lot of waiting around, and I was like, so I met some people within School of Rock and recruited them to be in my band originally. And now and like I said, I've had iterations through the years, and this current band, we've been together I think a couple of years now, I think probably 2.5 years. And so we are just really gelling now, and we have our house parties. We did a party, not a party, but a performance at our church, which is the Unitarian Church in Columbia, and had a bunch of people there, got a standing ovation. So yeah, it's just been so fun for us because we all love music, and we're all Unitarians. We're all of the same mindset, and we like the same genre.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just basically rock and roll, and I play the drums, and I'm lucky that the other people in my band are very talented. Julie's a fantastic singer, and she's learned to play the rhythm guitar. And my lead guitarist didn't have a lot of time to practice because he had to travel for his job, but he retired. So now we're going to go. We're taking off.
Awesome. That's great. What genre or what style would you say that would you?
Yeah, definitely like 80s rock and roll type, but we definitely go around, we're playing some Grateful Dead now, and that's not my thing, but I'm learning to love it. The funny thing is, even when I'm like, I don't know this song, eventually I'm like, oh, I love this, I love music. Melissa Etheridge, we're doing I'm the Only One. We've got we're all over the place, and we all sing. So now we're getting into End of the Line, with harmonies and stuff. So we all do our parts and come together with the harmony. That's what we're really enjoying. That's what we had in our show.
Right. Well, that sounds like fun. Do you write at all, or are you mainly just doing covers?
Mainly no covers. Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely covers. I do have we do have the guys in the band have written songs.
Mhm.
I've stuck to covers because I really like it when people are like, "Oh, I love this song," rather than introducing an original song. But who knows? Maybe one day we'll do that.
You never know. You never know. I
Yeah,
mean,
never say never, right?
right, right. Well, there's always a very big sense of accomplishment getting your songs written and
Oh
to the
yeah.
point where you can perform them out and people are receptive to them. It really is a good feeling. I've
Oh
experienced
yeah.
it myself,
Oh,
and
great, great.
yeah, yeah. Did so, and another thing that I was saying too, being the drummer, you could have a good band with a bad drummer, or you could have a bad band with a good drummer, and the drummer really makes the difference. You know, a lot of people who don't know any better, they're like, oh, they're just the drummer. You know what? It does make a difference. You're back there driving the song, you're the rhythm section, you're dictating a lot of things, and it really makes a difference when you've got a good drummer back there. So kudos to you.
Oh, thank you.
Yep. Yep. So, you had mentioned you're doing a benefit at your church. You're not on any social media or anything like that, but what we can do is say, keep an eye out for the Babysitters.
That's right. We're
Yeah.
up and coming band in Baltimore.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Have you done any other places?
We started doing shows here on this property, and we've got a big yard, and we've had some shows that have been really festive, but mostly like home shows.
Right. Yard parties, that
Church,
kind of.
yard parties, yeah. We have talked about playing in bars, but we're not dying to go out late at night and haul all the equipment. Even
Mhm.
playing at the church, we had to haul everything over there, and it was a lot.
Mhm. It is. It is. Well, it's the
Yeah.
one thing that's good about playing today is the equipment is made a lot lighter and a lot more compact.
Ah,
I can remember in the 80s, because not only was I playing back then, but I was also roadieing.
oh,
And the
really?
size of the PA cabinets and how heavy it was, always two people on a cabinet. And God
Oh,
forbid
my
you have to go up and down a flight of stairs with the stuff.
Oh, yeah, I
You
can
know,
only imagine.
that is a job right there. Nowadays, you can have a full PA system, about this big, and you're golden. But I can remember a couple places like Feathers Lounge and the Paragon. They were always called the stairs from hell because
Oh, man.
lugging your stuff up and down. And not only that, they were steep, so you
Oh,
really had to
God.
watch yourself. But and another good thing about playing today too is in the 80s and 90s, 11 o'clock, you're just getting started.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Nowadays, 11 o'clock, you're on your way home.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is directly proportional to the age of the people that are still playing in bands now, too.
That's right. That's right. That's right. We are not trying to stay out till 2 a.m.
I mean, those clubs would milk every minute out of that 2 a.m. closing time
Oh, yeah.
back in those days.
Last call.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, I really wish you the best of luck with it. And I'm glad you really found something that you enjoy doing and some like-minded people you can enjoy it with.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I'm so lucky to have them.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And yep, well, great. Well, look, I really appreciate you willing to come and tell me your stories and everything tonight. It's really been great having you. And is there anything else you want to share with us? Any great stories or moments that you remember before we wrap up?
Well, just that, it was interesting that my dad was so talented, but in reality, ironically, my mom was every bit as talented as my dad was.
Mm-hmm.
But back then, women did not have the opportunity that men did. Of course, she had my brother and I too, and that was that she wanted to stay home and raise us, but she was so talented, and I didn't know that. Everybody revered dad and nobody revered mom. And then I remember realizing, oh my God, you're just as good as he is. So I just throw that in there,
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, it was the men that were running everything, and I'm glad that's changed a bit.
Yeah, and we were kind of talking about this a bit before I hit record, that
Yeah.
in as being a DJ on 97underground.com, I interview a lot of bands. In the got a little over 2 years I've been on the air there. I've done over, I think, like 75 interviews, both local and national. And I'm seeing a lot more women in the bands, and not just singers.
Yeah.
I mean, they're playing instruments, drumming, playing bass, playing guitar, and singing too. But I think it's great that more women are getting involved and able to participate in this.
Absolutely. It's so great.
Hmm.
It's so great.
It is. You never know. It's not just a boys' club anymore.
That's
You
right.
never know. You never know until you open your mind to it and everything. And I'm really glad. I mean, and there are a lot of great women that are musicians that I've had the opportunity to interview and listen to, and play on the air, and
Yeah, I'll
really
have to
enjoy
go
their
through your
stuff.
archives and look some of those up and check them out. I did
Mhm.
listen to a couple of your interviews. It's really neat what you're doing. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Sure, sure. Like I said, anybody who's doing something worthwhile and interesting, and I really enjoy having these conversations with people. And we do have a nice history as well as a nice present day in this region, I think.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Yep. Well, great. Well, Lori, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate you, sharing your little piece of the history around here with us.
Yes, my
Um,
pleasure. My pleasure.
Anytime, you've got some babysitters news or anything else, don't be shy. Look us up and let us know,
Okay,
and
great.
come back and talk to us sometime.
All right, you got it.
All right. All right, folks. Well, we've had Lori Lewman with us tonight of the Babysitters, also the daughter of Baltimore television legend Pete the Pirate, Larry Lewman. So thanks again for listening, folks. And we will see you all next time on Foul Players Radio after the first of the year. So we have plenty of episodes for you to go back and listen to tide you over. Until then, see ya in 2026. Well, hey, I hope you enjoyed our interview tonight with Lori Lewman, talking about her band, the Babysitters, as well as memories of her father, Larry Lewman, who was Pete the Pirate back in the 1960s on WBAL TV in Baltimore, Maryland. I really enjoy talking about old TV. In the past, we've had, Frank Luber from WJZ in Baltimore. We had some great interviews with Dick Dizell from WDCA 20, who was Captain 20 and Count Gore Duvall. Tracy Lewis came on and talked about her father, Captain Chesapeake George Lewis. And we've got Pete the Pirate tonight. So that was a really great interview. And I really want to thank Lori Lewman for being willing to spend time with us and tell us her stories. So, folks, remember, foulplayersradio.com, youtube.com/@foulplayersradio. Hit that like and subscribe button. Pass our interviews around to get people to listen. I think if you like it, other people will too. And we will see you after the first of the year. Thank you for a great season 12. I'll be back with season 13 in January of 26. Until then, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Thanksgiving, Happy Hanukkah, and we'll see you after the first of the year. Michael Spedden signing off.